This is Guidelines of Purim, right? You're familiar with this, I think, Charles?
Yes.
Usually a month before a holiday, I like to go through this. It's very straightforward, very simple, but it gives us some things. The four parshios. Right? What are the four parshios and their significance? The sages instituted the public reading of four special portions of the Torah before and during the month of Adar. These are read as the maftirs, right? They are Parsha Shkolim, a shekel, half shekel. This recalls the mitzvah of the ancient half shekel coin that was donated annually to the temple treasury for the purpose of the daily offering. Parsha Zachor. This is read to recall the incident when the wicked nation of Amalek attacked the Jewish people shortly after the exodus from Egypt. With this reading, we fulfill the Torah obligation of remembering to eradicate this evil nation. Parsha Para. This discusses the preparation of the ashes of the Para Duma, the red cow, that was used by the Jewish people to purify themselves before Pesach. By the reading of the Parsha, we pray that Hashem will purify us speedily with the final redemption. There have been 9 red cows.
There's the 10th one.
The 10th one will be the sign of Mashiach. Parsha HaKodesh. This recalls the sanctification of Nisan, the first month of the year. Number 2. May a child be called to the Torah for these portions. Although a boy below the age of bar mitzvah may be called up for a regular maftir, he should not be called for Parsha Zachor or Parsha Para. It is preferable not to call up a boy below the bar mitzvah for Parsha Shkolim or Parsha HaKodesh, but under extenuating circumstances one may be lenient. This is important to remember when planning a bar mitzvah. Interestingly, Hadassah's son is bar mitzvah on Purim, right? And this year, the Shabbos before Purim is Parsha Zachor. Right? He won't be reading it. He'll be reading something else. Are women obligated to hear the four parshios? Women are not obligated to hear Parsha Shkolim, Par, and HaKodesh. And opinions differ whether they are obligated to hear Parsha Zachor. Many women have the custom to make an effort to go to shul to hear Parsha Zachor. You'll see when Parsha Zachor comes, which is not far away, that the women's side will be filled up.
That's interesting, but the other ones they shouldn't hear.
It's Parsha Zachor. Of all the things we read in the Torah, is the one piece of the Torah that in itself, by the Torah, we're commanded to hear. Because we're commanded to remember this story. How do we remember it? By reading this parsha, right? Which tells us we should read it. So consequently, of all the Torah, like if you never hear any Torah readings, heaven forbid, during the year, this one you should come to. You should always hear, even more than 10 Commandments.
Is that for everyone, men and women?
Yeah. Even more than the 10 Commandments. It's required. I'll try to remember to send emails as we're coming closer to each of these parshiot. And I should get your email address too. Are women obligated to? Okay. What should one think when hearing Parsha Zachor? One should have in mind to fulfill the Torah commandment, Torah mitzvah, to remember the attack of Amalek and the obligation to obliterate that nation. When listening to brachas that are recited before and after reading, one should have in mind that they are being recited on behalf of the entire congregation. So there's an idea, in old westerns, there was a point where the guy with the white hat, who in this case was the good guy, and the guy in the black hat, who in this case was the bad guy, would meet, on the dusty street, right? And everybody, and the guy in the good hat, with the white hat, would say to the other guy, "There ain't room in this town for the two of us." And this is actually the nature of the relationship between the children of Yaakov and Amalek. Comes a time of Mashiach, right? All the other nations, one way or another, will come to see the light of God. Amalek will not. Now, I have to say, interrupt here, on behalf of the Lubavitcher Rabbi, who is a man who loathes violence of any kind, bothered him tremendously. He said, what is the overturning of Amalek? Right? It's the overturning of his nature. Right? But most people hold that Amalek's nature cannot be overturned, that he is going to be destroyed at that time. But it's an interesting view of the Rebbe. It's necessary to understand all the words of Parsha Zachor. Is it necessary to understand all the words of Parsha Zachor? It's very short, by the way. It's important to understand the general meaning of the portion. Therefore, a person who does not understand Hebrew should read the translation before the reading in shul. It is praiseworthy to understand the meaning of every word. Right? It's about 3 sentences long. It's not long at all. You should read it. Is it necessary to hear every word? Ideally, one should hear every word. May a person listen to a reading if it is recited in pronunciation different than his own. Ashkenaz, Sephardic, Hasidic. Ideally, a person should fulfill the mitzvah by listening or to a reading in a pronunciation the same as his own. In extenuating circumstances, he may listen to a reading in different pronunciation. If a person missed Parsha Zachor, such a person should either have in mind to fulfill the Torah mitzvah when the Torah reading of Purim, right? Say the verses of Parsha Zachor, or say the verses from Parsha Zachor from a Chumash. If possible, he should sing the words with the tune of the Torah reading. It's actually read 3 times during the year, so there are opportunities to hear Parsha Zachor. And by the way, interestingly enough, the Chazan has in mind every time he reads it that it's for the congregation to fulfill the mitzvah, just in case somebody missed it another time, right? Because he has to have in mind, both the listener and the speaker have to have in mind that it is for the fulfillment of the mitzvah. So even when he's reading it as just part of the Torah reading later in the year, not much later, by the way, he'll have in mind that for those who have not fulfilled, it's their opportunity to do so.
In Yiddishkeit, is there any relationship between Amalek and the serpent in the Garden of Eden?
It's a very good question. Let's talk about it after they leave. Okay. But the answer is yes. Yeah, the answer.
I don't understand why the Parsha says that we're supposed to erase the name of Amalek, but the Parsha mentions the name of Amalek, and if we keep reading it, we're getting the name of Amalek.
So,
you'll never get rid of it.
Rav Hirsch addresses this very beautifully.
Oh, okay.
And I'm saving it.
Oh, okay.
I'm not going to. Okay. When we get closer to the
wondered
Parsha,
that though, because it says you're supposed to forget it.
It sounds like a complete paradox.
Yeah, but then
remember to forget it.
Yeah,
forget to remember it. Which one was it? Right?
Yeah, but you know what I mean. I always wondered that.
Yeah,
it says you're supposed to erase the name, but the thing mentions the name.
You're supposed not to forget to erase the name.
Yeah.
Well, what should one think when hearing the other parshas? Ideally, one should have in mind to fulfill the rabbinic mitzvah of these parshas. They're rabbinic mitzvahs. The Zachor is derisive. What if a man missed one of the other 3 parshas? Nothing needs to be done. Fast of Esther. This year, the Fast of Esther, which usually precedes Purim, can't precede Purim. Does anybody know why?
Shabbos.
What?
You can't fast on Shabbos.
There's only one Shabbos you can fast on.
Yeah, Yom Kippur.
Right. Yeah. That's right. So we fast on. So if we're not fasting on, if Purim starts Saturday night, so we should fast on Friday, right? Wait, how come?
Because it's going into Shabbat, so you have to keep the spirit.
Right. So when do we fast?
Thursday.
Perfect. Perfect. Thursday, right? So we're going to fast on Thursday for Purim that starts Saturday night. Right. Have that in mind. It's in some ways it's really nice. In some ways it's strange.
Friday we have to have a
right. Exactly.
Sorry.
What is the meaning of the fast? In the days of Mordechai and Esther, 3405 from creation, the Jewish people assembled on the 13th of Adar to fight their enemies and defend their lives. See question 55. In order to arouse the mercy and the help of Hashem, they fasted and prayed, following in the footsteps of Moshe Rabbeinu, who decreed a day of fasting when waging war with Amalek. Yeah. Right. The fast of Esther reminds us that when a person fasts and repents sincerely, Hashem sees and delivers him from troubles. Is this a suitable day for private prayers? The day is extremely appropriate for private prayers, and the gates of heaven are wide open. One should first say Psalm 22, which by tradition was composed by Esther Hamalka. It's a Psalm of Esther. It's about the dawn coming. And then pour out one's heart with personal requests. One should conclude with the request to be answered in the merit of Mordecai and Esther. Right? Remember, this is something we'll come back to many times, right? We're not asking Esther or Mordechai for anything.
Mm-hmm.
We're asking God in the merit of Mordechai and Esther to grant something, right? Do women need to fast? Girls over bas mitzvah and women are obligated to fast if they are well. If they are weak or find fasting difficult, they should consult a Rav, since certain communities are lenient in this matter and are strict only on Tisha B'Av and Yom Kippur. Fasting and dehydration often brings on labor. You'll find that there's a lot of children that are born the day after fasting. Yeah, it brings it on early sometimes. Do pregnant nursing women need to fast? No. The laws of this fast are more lenient than for other fasts, and women who are pregnant or nursing are exempt even if they feel well. What if a person is not feeling well? A person who is ill is not permitted to fast even if his illness is not serious. Even if one has only a severe headache, he should not fast. And if he's been fasting, he should break the fast. By the way, things like diabetes are considered to be ill, right? A person should not fast in that situation. And if he's considering, he should speak to a Rav before. Should children...
I had that with my daughter. She had severe colitis and was constantly going with blood. So I went to Rav Shochet, and it was Yom Kippur, and he said that she should eat, but always make a blessing, and eat every 5 minutes.
Yeah. Well, we can talk about the halakhas of it, but that's because Deraisa, that's not called eating. That's why, right? You know, if you eat more than a kazayas within 6 minutes, right? If you eat more than kazayas within 6 minutes, we call that eating, right? And you need to make an after blessing, etc. If you eat less than a kazayas every 6 minutes, right, then we don't call that eating. Deraisa. Rabbinically, it's eating. But, you know, if you're in that situation, by the way, it's extremely difficult to do, right? To remember, like, you know, every 6 minutes. To have
How do
you never have enough to fill yourself up. Right? Be well, good job, good job.
That was just tremendous.
Yeah, it's fair. But, you know, when we're in this situation, we always have to keep in mind it's a very important concept. You know, we talked about this last week or the week before, this whole story about Rabbi Melech and Reb Zusha, that they couldn't daven because there was a toilet in their cell, right? And Rabbi Melech said to Reb Zusha, remember, the same God who commanded us to daven mincha commanded us not to daven mincha under these conditions. And so we're fulfilling the law of God by not davening at this moment. And so it is with not fasting on a fast day, right? If the reasons are a halakhic requirement, you should know that you are fulfilling the law that God prescribed. You're not fulfilling the law by fasting in this situation. You're actually violating the law by fasting in that situation. And it's a very important thing to impress upon people in this situation that fasting is not only a good idea, it is consistent with halakha. And God understood this as one of the things. There are people who don't do it, right? And they're violating the law. They think they're being machmir, but actually it's the opposite. They're violating the law.
Is the notion of life, as opposed to amalek, which is power, life? What do they mean in Yiddish by life?
It's a long conversation, but you know, we say that the Rasha is dead. You know, the dead man walking, the movie, right? This is a description of the Rasha. He looks like he's alive, but he's dead. His neshama is dead. You know, at that point, you know, if he's a pure Rasha, right? And we say Yaakov lo meis. What does it mean? Yaakov didn't die. Yaakov's alive. You going to give him Hagba? I don't think so, right? It means something else, right? We know that Yaakov died, he was embalmed, he was put in a casket, he was buried in the Machpelah. Nobody disputes this, right? So, but our sages say Yaakov lo meis, Yaakov didn't die. I think everybody intuitively understands what this means. I'm not a goyim, but I can tell you in my own life, right? I was in my early teens when my dad passed away. Right? And I know from conversations with other people, in many ways my father is more alive in my life than he is in the lives of some people whose fathers walk this earth and breathe. Because of the influence that he and my mother have on myself and on my family, right? They continue to live. Right? Life has many, many forms. Right? There's physical life, when the nefesh is working with you. There's a point when the nefesh, the will to live, departs. Right? But for some people, will mace. Will mace. Right? And we hold this to be true.
It's the life of the spirit and the physical life.
That's right. And that spirit is very influential. We understand that a tzaddik, when he is released from the bounds of physicality, is in a much better state than when he is controlled by the bounds of physicality.
Is it they have more effect on their humanism?
It's why we celebrate the Kula, the yahrzeit of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. It's one of the biggest celebrations in Israel every year. Lag BaOmer, in the middle of the Omer, people go crazy with joy. In the middle of this mourning period, right? Crazy with joy, right? At the death of Shimon Bar Yochai.
That's Zohar.
That's right. Because he said that through his death, revelation, channel would be opened up for revelation. Right? So why? Because he is released from the physical bounds of this world that his body has. So for those of us who are very physical, right, we don't think that's a great thing. We really want to hang in there with this goof that we've got here, this body, right? But for somebody who is, at this level, the separation of neshama from the body is a very opportune time for that person. Should we try and finish faster?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Let's see how far. Maybe it's too far. Maybe 5 minutes. 5%. Okay, we'll continue. Okay. Should children be trained to fast? No, children below bar bas mitzvah do not need to fast even for a few hours. This is a general policy, is that some people think, I'll teach my child not to eat for half the day. Right? We don't hold that way. In our family, the one thing that we always held was that food should be very simple that the child's eating on that day. Not elaborate, not sweets. It's just straight nourishment. But it shouldn't be hungry, right? But it shouldn't be something, this is yummy, yummy, yummy. This is, my favorite food, right? Just kind of straightforward carb food. Right? If a person is not required to fast, should he delay eating for a few hours? No, this is not necessary, and he may eat immediately in the morning. May such a person eat as much as he likes. According to some opinions, there are no restrictions. Right? This is for this day, right? Because, by the way, Purim itself is rabbinic. Let's keep that in mind. Right? Should anything be done in place of fasting by someone who is exempt? It is correct to give money to charity instead. Pregnant and nursing women do not need to do this. How should a person who is fasting take medicine if required? A person may swallow bitter or tasteless medicine in tablet, capsule, or liquid form, but not if they are pleasant tasting. Chewable vitamins, for instance, we don't think. It's a problem with cough syrup.
What about if, like for instance, I take my pill for my every day, right? Do I have to do it for every day for the rest of my life?
You continue to take it, there's no question.
But with water, I can't swallow without water.
Let's read what it says.
Okay.
The medicine should be taken without water or with a bitter tasting liquid. If the medicine will be effective when mixed with water, this is a practical solution since such liquid is usually bitter tasting. If these alternatives are not feasible, he may take the medicine with a small amount of water if refraining from doing so will cause illness or great discomfort.
Okay, so it covers it then.
Right.
But
if you can, if you can take something that's sort of a little bit more bitter,
no,
it's not a bad idea.
Okay.
If a person was fasting, because you're not supposed to have any pleasure from it.
No. Okay.
If a person was fasting, permitted to taste food and spit it out, this usually is forbidden. However, it is permitted to taste a small quantity of food is being prepared for Suda's mitzvah after the fast. One should spit out the food and be careful not to swallow any. A bracha should not be recited. So this usually refers to preparing food for children, by the way. May the mouth be rinsed. One may rinse the mouth with water or mouthwash only if a bad taste causes discomfort. Only a small amount of liquid should be used while leaning forward to ensure that it is not swallowed. And it shouldn't be rinsed, right? You just use the direct mouthwash, right? And facing down so nothing goes down your throat. Right? May teeth be cleaned.
But you're allowed to use a mouthwash on a fast, just to cleanse your mouth?
It says if only if a bad taste causes discomfort.
Oh, okay.
It's b'diavad. It's not hatchila. It's not the best way. May the teeth be cleaned. The teeth may be cleaned with a dry toothbrush. Toothpaste may be used only if a bad taste causes discomfort. Same as previous. Right? May one eat early in the morning before the fast begins. The fast begins at halakhic dawn, and one may eat until this time. However, before going to sleep the previous evening, one must have in mind that he wishes to eat before dawn. A person who wakes up unexpectedly and did not intend to eat before dawn may not do so. Right? So you have to have it in mind before you go to bed. However, if a person forgot to have it in mind or woke up unexpectedly, he may drink before dawn, even though it is still preferable to have it in mind the previous evening. Right? So he can drink without having it in mind, but he shouldn't.
But having in mind, so before you go to sleep, please remember, I'm going to eat something before galactic dawn, go to sleep, then wake up, and now you considered that you thought about it?
Yeah.
Okay, you just have to sit down and think about it.
It's more than that. Halakhic dawn, let's say at this point, is around 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
Most people are not waking up at 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
Some people are, but most people are not.
Yeah.
Right? So if you're planning to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, right, and you wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, that means that you're planning to eat beforehand, right, by definition.
I accept it.
How close to halakhic dawn may one begin to eat? If one wishes to eat more than a kvetza of bread or cake, he must begin at least 30 minutes before halakhic dawn. One may begin to eat other foods or drinks even within this period. Women are not restricted by this 30-minute limit, even for bread or cake. If a person recited a bracha on food or drink and then realized that it is a fast day, what should he do? He must say Baruch Shem. Right? Whenever we say a bracha that we don't intend to say, we say
that's the counselor.
Right? Yeah, that's right. He must say Baruch Shem Kavod Machuso Le'olam Va'ed, and not drink or eat anything. If a person accidentally ate or drank, what should he do? He must stop immediately and continue to fast for the rest of the day. He's not obligated to fast on another day, but if he wishes to gain atonement for his mistake, he may do so. If this is difficult, he may give a reasonable sum of money to charity instead. By the way, you have to determine if you actually ate in a halakhic way, right? That you ate a certain amount.
That you broke the rule.
Yeah, before you have that concern.
So every time we fast or we do something that's halakhically correct, we're lifting ourselves above the earth and above Amalek.
Yeah. I mean, one of the qualities of Amalek is I don't remember the exact gematrias how this works out, but Amalek and Nakash, the snake, right, share gematrias with Suffolk, with doubt. Amalek is not about rejection. That would be too strong. Amalek is smarter than that. It's about doubt. About doubt. Amalek is, in our own personal lives, the Yetzer Hara. The Yetzer Hara doesn't say don't daven. It says you don't have to go to the early minyan. It's cold, right? Press the button, warm the car up, right? Do that, right? Roll over, go back to sleep. You catch the minion. Right? You never catch them. Amalek is the one who says, that rabbi. Always the same thing. Always the same thing. Right? Why doesn't he get onto something else? It's on and on and on, right? Amalek is a scorner. That's a quality of Amalek, right? And Amalek is described as he happened upon us happened upon us, right, in the wilderness and attacked us. Right? It's like he went for a stroll, we went for a stroll, right, and he mugged us, right.
Maybe we just happened to be in the right area.
But the rest of the world at this time in history was absolutely stunned by what had happened. The greatest nation in the world had been brought to its knees by a community of slaves.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, everybody knew about
Had been
it.
emptied out of its wealth,
Yeah.
had its military destroyed, had been humiliated publicly.
Mm-hmm.
And so throughout the world, nations were terrified of this slave nation in the wilderness,
Yeah.
right? That had a God that was very dangerous.
Yeah, you can't mess with them.
One night he had destroyed all the gods of Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was very, if you see it from the point of view of the ancients, it was very dramatic. And there was one nation who said, they're not so hot. But they're made of blood, bone, skin like I am. Let's, take a kick at the can.
Mm-hmm.
And it says, Amalek is like the person who jumps into scalding water and burns himself severely, but he cools the water off with his body.
Mm-hmm.
This is Amalek. Right? This is the definition of Amalek. Right? So that Amalek, the result of Amalek's attack on us was not to defeat us, but to tell all the other nations in the world they're vulnerable. They are human. They are people.
Put their doubt in there.
That they can be beaten.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so we understand that Amalek, one of the qualities of Amalek, is that when you need to use your trains to bring armaments to your soldiers who are fighting in order for your country to win the war, you direct those trains to kill Jews.
Mm-hmm.
You take those trains and you fill them with Jews and send them to the concentration camps, rather than sending armaments to your frontline troops. Because it's more important to kill Jews than to save your own life and to save your nation. This is a sign of
that's
Amalek.
insane.
Those who have hated us traditionally have hated us for reasons. The British kicked us out 3 times and brought us back. And every time they kicked us out, they got wealthier as a result of it. Because they didn't say, take your money. They said, get out of here and leave behind your money. So we create wealth. Right? They kick us out and keep the wealth. They borrow from us. Royalty borrows from us, kicks us out. Don't have to pay back the debt.
Yeah.
These are actually understandable reasons for being cruel to Jews, right? It's an economic plan, so to speak. Not with Amalek. Not with Amalek, right? Amalek has the same need to destroy us as we have to fulfill God's will. Maybe he's more successful at it, by the way. But Amalek is very focused on this goal, and he's full of Mesiras Nefesh. He's more than willing to give up his own life to destroy God's mission in this world as represented by the Jewish people.
And when we're obligated to destroy Amalek, it allows us to ascend to Hashem, to be more spiritual and holy.
Yeah, because it says, God, you'll see it in the Parsha. God says that my name, my throne will not be complete, my name will not be complete until that day. Right? That the 4 letters of the name of God will be separated till Amalek is defeated. So it's very
Trying to understand it. Just a little.
Why the name Amalek? Why that name?
Where does the name come from? I don't know.
It's a good weird. I always wonder what does that mean?
It's probably from the original group that attacked.
Like they were Amalekians, because the
No, they're a tribe. They're a tribe.
Remember, they're descendants from Samuel. Remember, I like to call that in the Haftorah. Remember, the king who he
Agar.
Agar.
Yeah.
Remember Texas Chainsaw Massacre, right?
Yeah, no, you're talking about Haman. Right.
No, not Haman.
Haman is a descendant of Agagai.
Yeah.
Right, because he had
But he
one
was
day-
spared. He was supposed
he
to
had
kill
one
him,
night.
right?
One night before Samuel arrived.
Yeah.
And he had his way with a woman.
Yeah.
She became pregnant and eventually became the great-great-great-great-grandmother of Haman.
But he should not have ever been a slave, captured. He should have been killed when God
That's right.
originally
That's
told
right.
you're supposed to wipe everybody out.
That's right.
And they let him live.
That's right.
But then Samuel Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
But by the time Samuel kills him, he's already impregnated.
Yeah, he did it the night
Who
before,
will
right?
later be the
Is Haman?
ancestor of Haman.
And then ultimately lead to Hitler.
You know, I can't trace that
Yeah.
route, but there's many sources
That say that, right?
say
Yeah.
that place and that time was one of, and Hitler Machshmo has the signs of Amalek. You know, his blind hatred and his self-destructive hatred of Jews is a sign. You know, of Amalek.
Amazing.
You know, there wasn't a benefit for himself in doing what he was doing.
Yeah, I know. It's ridiculous.
It was just a
Ridiculous.
need.
Yeah.
It was a need.
Ridiculous.
Right.
Yeah.
But you can see many times anti-Semitism has a social or financial benefit to the anti-Semite. And there's a kind of bizarre logic to why they do it. This is not true of Amalek. Right? He is willing to cut off his nose to spite his face.
Yeah, just for the sake of hate.
That is one of the defining qualities of Amalek. Amalek is the grandson of Esau. He is the son of Eliphaz, right? Eliphaz and his wife Timnah. Timnah came to. She was a foreigner, and she came to the camp of Aram and Yitzchak and said, "I want to serve you," and they rejected her. And she said, "Better that I should at least be part of the family, so I'll go serve in Esau." Right? And she became the concubine or the wife of Eliphaz, the son of Esau. So her child had a double hatred. The hatred from Esau, right? And the hatred of a mother rejected.
Sure.
Right.
Interesting.
And by the way, the sages say that there's a real question as to whether it was the right thing for Yitzhak and Abraham to do to reject her. There's a big question raised as to whether, because her conversion may have been sincere. You know.
So you mean if they would not have rejected her, we wouldn't led to all these problems?
That's right. You know, remember that if the Washington Senators had hired Fidel Castro, we wouldn't have the problems with Cuba that we have now. But they cut him in spring training, and he went back to Cuba and started a revolution.
The same bent for destruction that Hitler did to the Jews, he also did in pursuing a second front with Russia. It was just crazy that he would take on Russia and then the West.
But his goal, you see, as I said, his goal was not just a bigger Germany or everything else. One of his goals was, you know, genocide we think of as a tremendously evil idea, right? The very word has an evil quality to it. But cleansing the world from filth is a good thing, right? That's what he saw himself doing. He began in Germany, worked his way through Poland, and he was going to just make the world Judenrein, right? Same word, by the way, same phrase that is now used by our enemies in the Middle East. Is that, you know, it's one idea to say, okay, you know, this part of the Middle East we want for the Palestinians. Palestinians are saying, not only do we want to rule it, but no Jews will be allowed to live here.
Yeah.
Right. Now, quite frankly, that's, you know, is reminiscent of some very bad things in the past. Right. But we don't say in our country that this is a Jewish state, so consequently non-Jews cannot live here. Right? We don't say that. Even the Torah doesn't hold that. It holds certain requirements, but not specifically that they can't be there.
So I think the difference is in separation. We separate and then do acts and make blessings that spiritually uplift us, and we become holy, we become part of God's world. They are hell-bent on destruction, force.
Yeah.
Just killing.
Yeah, and I mean, at the end of the day, the idea of a nation of priests, a light unto the nation, is trickle-down effect. Right? Is that we live our life properly, as the Torah requires, right? Then the nations will come to understand, not that, oh, look, they're this wondrous thing, but they'll come to understand this is how we should all live. This is the right way to live. This compassion, this kindness, this chesed, charity, all the qualities that are there. This is good not just for them, it's good for everybody. It doesn't mean that they have to keep the 613 mitzvahs, but even keeping the laws of Noah, of the Noahide, right? And the extension of those would lead them to living a better life at the end of the day. So, that's really what it is for us to be light unto the nation, is to live as the Torah tells us to, and they will see it and say, it can be better. As opposed to us seeing the way they live and saying, hey, there's merit to the Super Bowl. There's merit to gladiators. Mm-hmm. There's merit to, excesses. There's merit to avoid spiritual life in favor of material life, right? And we question that very seriously, daily. We think maybe that is better. The grass on the other side. It's a very serious issue. We should be living a life that makes them say, hey, well, maybe that's the way to go. For some people it does. But there aren't enough people doing it to really have that effect. God willing, that will change soon. Okay. Let's go on. We're getting there. We're almost done with this. Are there changes in the Shemona Esrei on these 4 Parshiot? Right. At Mincha, on the fast Esther. At Mincha, the following changes are made. A person who is fasting should say the paragraph Anenu and the bracha of Shema Kolenu. In the bracha of Shema Kolenu. Shem Shalom is said instead of Shalom Rav at the end. Even if one is not fasting nor davening with a minyan. A person who is fasting should say a special prayer before the end of Shemona Esrei that begins with Rabbon Kol Alamim. If a person accidentally ate or drank, may he still say Anenu and Shemona Esrei? Yes. But if he ate a kazayas of food or drank a cheekful of drink, a revius, he should alter the wording slightly and say Bayom Tzam Ha'anis Hazeh. May a person who is exempt from fasting, i.e. an ill, pregnant or a child, say Anenu and Shemona Esrei? No, he should omit the paragraph completely. Someone who intentionally is not permitted to fast. What if a person forgot to say Anenu? If he's already concluded the bracha of Shema Kolenu, he should continue and say Anenu just before the verse Yuchu L'Ritzon at the end of Shemona Esrei. If he forgot there also, Shemona Esrei is not repeated. Sometimes we repeat Shemona Esrei, not in this case. Is Avinu Malkeinu recited at Mincha? When the fast is on the 13th of Adar, which is this year, I believe, Avinu Malkeinu is not said at Mincha, since it is Erev Purim. When the 13th of Adar is on Shabbos, and the fast is the preceding Thursday, Avinu Malkeinu is recited. So we do recite.
Which will happen in our case.
Yes. Avinu Malkeinu is said without a minyan. Or may Avinu Malkeinu be said without a minyan, or if one is not fasting? Yes, you say it. Is bathing permitted? Bathing is permitted even with hot water, although this is forbidden on Tisha B'Av and customarily not done on a rabbinic fast. It is permitted on the fast of Esther, since it is not a day of mourning. Right? Mm-hmm. So that's one of the interesting things about this fast, is we're not fasting for the destruction of the Beis Mikdash. We're fasting for preparation for battle. May one listen to music. And remember, Esther fasted for 3 days before approaching Achashverosh. And those 3 days were, does anybody know?
I'm sorry?
When were the 3 days that she approached? After 3 days she approached Achashverosh. Do you know what those 3 days were?
Oh, I used to know.
She missed the Seder.
Yeah. It's past Passover.
Yeah, being Pesach. She fasted for 3 days. Is there any special mitzvah to perform on this day? Yes, the mitzvah known as Machzis HaShekel is performed on the fast of Esther. See chapter 3. In Jerusalem, some have the custom to perform it on the 14th of Adar.